The city lights blurred as the taxi sped through the unfamiliar streets. Natasha pressed her forehead against the cool glass, her reflection staring back, a tapestry woven with equal parts excitement and trepidation. New York City, the city that never sleeps. For Natasha, it was a fresh start, a chance to rewrite a narrative that had started to feel tragically predictable. But old habits die hard, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd brought her demons along for the ride. Her fingers nervously traced the outline of a worn, leather-bound journal in her bag, a gift from her mother. Its pages held the promise of a different story, one she desperately wanted to write. "Girl, you were born to rock this city," Kiki exclaimed, her laughter echoing through the cramped dorm room. Kiki, with her electric blue hair and a personality that could light up Times Square, was Natasha's first real friend in the city. She was a whirlwind of energy, pulling Natasha into a world of late-night parties and exclusive clubs. Natasha, usually reserved and cautious, found herself irresistibly drawn to Kiki's infectious energy. Kiki was a siren, beckoning Natasha towards the shimmering, seductive world of New York nightlife. The music pulsed through Natasha's body, a physical entity that drowned out her anxieties and inhibitions. She moved to the rhythm, surrounded by a throng of strangers who were all chasing the same high. The first few times she had hesitated at the edge of the dance floor, her heart a frantic drum in her chest. But Kiki had a way of pulling her in, and soon Natasha found herself surrendering to the night. The guilt gnawed at her, a persistent ache in the back of her mind, but it was easy to ignore in the intoxicating haze of the club. The stained glass windows cast a kaleidoscope of colors on the worn wooden pews. The air was thick with incense, a stark contrast to the cloying perfume of the nightclubs. Natasha sat quietly, her head bowed, seeking solace in the hushed reverence of the old chapel. She wasn't sure what she believed, but there was a sense of peace here that she found nowhere else in the city. The silence was a balm to her soul, a space where she could confront the growing dissonance within. The memory of a whispered prayer battled against the echo of a DJ's thumping bass line. Natasha stood frozen, caught between two opposing forces that threatened to rip her apart. One moment she was dancing on a table, the life of the party. The next she was seeking refuge in the stillness of the chapel, her heart heavy with guilt and shame. The lines blurred, the two worlds bleeding into each other until she could no longer tell where one ended and the other began. She was a walking contradiction, a jumble of conflicting desires. "Natasha!" Her mother's voice was laced with concern, the familiar tone cutting through Natasha's carefully constructed facade. "I barely recognize you in your letters. Are you okay?" The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken anxieties. Natasha had dodged her mother's calls, her emails filled with forced cheerfulness and carefully curated glimpses into her life. But her mother saw through the charade, the worry in her voice a mirror reflecting Natasha's own internal turmoil. The air crackled with a dangerous energy. The music was louder, the lights brighter, the crowd wilder than usual. Natasha, caught up in the frenzy, felt invincible. But as the night wore on, the music turned into a cacophony, the lights a dizzying assault on her senses. She stumbled, her legs feeling like lead, a wave of nausea washing over her. Panic tightened its grip. She needed to get out. But the crowd pressed in, a suffocating mass of bodies. Then everything went black. The sterile white walls of the hospital room were a stark contrast to the pulsating darkness of the club. The rhythmic beeping of the machines was a constant reminder of her reckless choices. When her eyes finally flickered open, her mother was there, her face etched with worry and relief. "You scared me, Natasha," her voice was a soft reprimand. As the doctor explained the severity of her collapse, the gravity of the situation sunk in. This wasn't a game anymore. She had a problem, and pretending otherwise wasn't an option. Lisa, a fellow patient at the rehab center, had a smile that could light up a room. She listened without judgment as Natasha haltingly confessed her fears and insecurities, her shame and regret. Lisa understood the darkness, the pull of addiction, the struggle to find your way back to the light. She became Natasha's confidant, her cheerleader, her lifeline in the storm. Lisa's unwavering support gave Natasha the strength to confront her demons and start the long, arduous journey toward healing. The journal lay open on the table, its pages filled with Natasha's messy, heartfelt journey. She had poured her soul into its pages, chronicling her struggles, her victories, her moments of despair and newfound hope. As she prepared to leave the rehab center, the weight of her choices felt heavier than ever. She knew the road ahead would be long and challenging. The city still beckoned, its allure not entirely extinguished. But now, she also saw the beauty in the quiet moments, in the simple act of choosing herself, her health, her future. She was a work in progress, a masterpiece still being painted. And for the first time in a long time, she was excited to see what the future held.